So, first Sunday of the new year. Probably a good place to read a little bit more about what we call the Christmas story, but a little further into the story. Today is January 5th. Tomorrow, January 6th, is what else? The day of Epiphany. And we know that it is a day that commemorates the arrival of the three wise men in Bethlehem. That was just underlined. The reading comes from Matthew, the chapter 2. When Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judah in the days of Herod the king, there came Magi from the east to Jerusalem. Now, I want you to think of that word Magi as mystical, because they were mystics. And as it says, they were told in a dream that this event was occurring. The scripture says, and they were saying, "Where is the king?" as they arrived in Jerusalem. "Where is the king of the Jews who's been born? For we have seen the star in the east, and we've come to worship him." Now, then Herod the king comes on the scene. They are asking this question of the townspeople maybe, and the word got to Herod, and Herod said, "Whoa, I'm interested in that." But was he really interested in what Jesus was really there about, or was he concerned about losing his power? And of course, we know the story is it's the latter. And as Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, reminds us, each of those characters in the Bible, even the ones we don't really like to think about, represent an aspect of our own nature. Now, some represent our true nature, like Jesus and other significant teachers in the Bible and, of course, in other spiritual literature. But Herod represents who we are not. And that character, that aspect, said to these three wise men, representing wisdom, representing the mystical side of life, I'd like to know about this Jesus. I'd like to go and worship him. So when you do find out what's going on, then I'd like you to let me know. And so the Magi continued with their journey. And as the scripture reveals to us in such a beautiful way, they arrived in Bethlehem. Jesus was, of course, still a newborn at that point. And they came bearing gifts. What were those gifts? Gold and frankincense and myrrh. And Charles Fillmore gives us a little insight into the metaphysics of those gifts. They're pretty obvious that they represented abundance and prosperity, but Charles writes, gold metaphysically represents the riches of spirit. The gold that the wise men brought to the Christ child was a consciousness of the omnipresent richness of substance. Charles Fillmore was always, when he referred to abundance and prosperity, always taking us back to that idea of substance. And where is that substance? Well, it's all around us. It's all around us. We can't separate ourselves from it, but we can pretend to. One of the teachers, in fact, when we got to meet Stephen a little bit earlier for a bite of breakfast, we were talking about our teacher, Arnold Patton. And one of the things Arnold used to say about that substance, he described it in this way, that abundance is the natural state of the universe. And to the degree we're not experiencing that total abundance, we're literally holding it out. So it's that lower nature, or that misgiven nature, that nature of Herod that says, I'm not entitled. I have to work for this in a certain way. I have to struggle or stress or strain. And Jesus, in his teaching later in his life, in the essence of his ministry, said, just relax and allow that good to come in. Charles Fillmore practiced that, and Myrtle Fillmore, in such a beautiful way that they helped birth this wonderful movement that we call Unity. And so the gold represents that beautiful shift in consciousness that makes us aware of the richness of substance all around us. Frankincense, representing in man the transmutation of the material consciousness into the spiritual. If you've had a chance to experience frankincense in its essence, it's such a beautiful, beautiful fragrance and powerful. And myrrh, representing the eternity of spirit, an emblem of the resurrection, Charles Fillmore defined it as. And my favorite part of that, an ointment of love. An ointment of love. And so on this Sunday, the day before Epiphany, my suggestion is that we allow ourselves to receive these mystical and metaphysical gifts of these beautiful representations known as the three kings into our own life. Could anybody here use a little more love? Probably all of us. A little more awareness of the presence, the omnipresence of that substance as we move through our lives. The frankincense representing in ourselves the transmutation of the material consciousness into the spiritual. It's sort of a moot question or a non-question, but we're all here because we want to evolve our spiritual consciousness. We want to grow. And this beautiful Sunday where we focus on the burning bowl gives us a physical representation to do that. As we move through our time together this morning, I want to talk to you about three ideas. And the first is vision. Let me ask you to close your eyes for just a moment, and assuming that there are no obstacles in your way in this new year, no obstacles around finances or around relationships or health or whatever might be there, that the way is clear for you. I want to ask you to go to your heart and begin to allow to come into your conscious awareness in the heart space a vision for you in this new year of 2020. We often kind of laugh about this particular year as one that allows for clear vision because of the numbers 2020. But for all of us, Spirit has a beautiful unfolding vision for this new year that we can begin to be sensitized to. Some of us may be clear about what that vision may be, but assuming that the obstacles are out of the way, that there is no difficulty that this presence of Spirit can't move you through, just allow for a moment for that vision to begin to clarify in your mind. And realize that we have the next few weeks to allow that vision to begin to become refined, for it to gather energy and strength. And even as we, toward the end of our time together today, set fire to what we feel may limit us, we can get more excited about this coming year and all that it holds and what lies beyond it. And when you're ready, just open your eyes. Now, the Magi arrived in Bethlehem. They experienced the presence of this Christ child, and they were given the gift, along with just a few others, some of the shepherds and of course Mary and Joseph, of knowing what it was that they were seeing. This beautiful representation of who we truly are, but also acknowledging this gift from Spirit that had come into their physical presence to make manifest a spiritual awakening in the world. When you and I purpose or have a vision that begins to well within us, and you know this from your past experiences, have you ever had some things pop up that seem to block the way? We all have. We have that as a church community. We have it as individuals. The Magi, when they were about to depart the city, had another awakening, had another dream. And in that dream, they were told, don't go to Jerusalem and report to Herod, go home a different way. And of course they did. And not long after that, Joseph was told in a dream by angels that came to him, it's time to take the Christ child to Egypt because his life is in danger here in this place. Now, metaphysically, what that represents to us is the things that come up, the things that would derail us from our vision being experienced, the things that would cause us to lose sight of this dynamic spiritual presence that is within us, that is referenced so beautifully by Emmett Fox in his beautiful book that Mary read to us some from today. This Christ child born in us, that's the real message of unity in Christmas, along with celebrating the birth of Jesus, celebrating the rebirth of the Christ child in our own consciousness. And that Christ child is here to guide us in everything that we encounter, that we undertake. So I want to ask you to close your eyes once again, because this is germane to our experience of the burning bowl this morning. What would Herod be showing up like in your life or in mine that might deter us from our experience of the richness of this vision that could be something as simple yet as beautiful as, I want to be happier in this new year. I want to be more at peace in this new year. I want to allow that abundance into my life that Charles Fillmore was so dedicated to speaking about and demonstrating in his own life. Whatever it might be. So we're allowing those Herod thoughts to begin to rise in our minds, not so that we can become fearful or think that we're in some way in error or somehow not loved by God, but simply recognizing that those are those things that we would, in this burning bowl ceremony, be willing to let go of. Sometimes they might present themselves as guilt or self-doubt or grievances that we may have been holding on to, unforgiveness or anger or worry or whatever it might be. And I'm going to ask you, if you will, to, with a little bit of music playing, to begin to write down what it is that you would let go of today in this burning bowl ceremony. There's a pencil or a pen. The little red paper is there for you to write on. I'm just going to have a little bit of that music playing as we move into that piece.